Today we're making a baby, a giant mesquite bug baby to be specific. I drew out a rough sketch of the bug's dimensions so that I would have something to build the tinfoil base against. I can't predict the future, but it's probably safe to say this will be common practice for me. Taking off a hefty wedge of Sculpey Premo, I roll it out with my #1 favorite rolling tool until it's beautiful and shiny. Then I sandwich the two pieces together to form a seam in the middle. I purposefully formed this seam like this instead of blending it out because that's just how the bug is built in real life. I chop the excess clay as usual, and yes, I do blend it out with a roller a little bit because I'm not crazy, but as you can see, this guy's abdomen protrudes in the middle in that specific way. Now I'm blocking off the ridges against the sketch I made earlier, but I still managed to put in an extra segment somehow. I finally inquired about the original intentions of this handy dandy blue tool that I stole from my mother many moons ago, and she said that it's originally to clean her keyboards, and she's been looking for it for months. I hope she finds it. Here, I'm smoothing out and deepening the ridges at the sides so that it forms a nice curve into each segment of the abdomen. From there, I'm going to forcefully roll out a small piece that I will use to make the plate over the bug's thorax. Don't quote me on this because I for sure did not look it up, but in my humble, unqualified opinion, the plate is a shield to fortify this area of the little guy's body, since this is a nymph and not an adult after all. I traced it and cut it out, and now I'm smoothing over the rough edges before attaching it. Just kidding, I thought it came out just a bit too small, so I'm buckling it up just a little bit, and honestly I'm just having such a blast doing this nice little simple beetle after doing two heavily designed, heavily detailed Lepidoptera. So this is like a spa day, really. Okay, sick. So from there I can trim up the shield while it's on the body, have it align more with the thorax underneath, and embellish it a little with some ridges. Bugs tend to have insanely tiny heads, with this bug being no exception. So I plop the head on and then take another small piece of clay for extra security and use it to further glue the head to the rest of the body, like so. Side note, I highly recommend using small indents for your eyes in whatever clay creation you do because eye sockets really lend to the realism and allow your eyes to sit. Moving on, time to create the antenna. The giant mesquite bug's antenna have a funny shaped disc on each one. It's theorized to be for communication purposes, like finding their ideal mate's pheromones at the hottest tree in town, or finding food when their ideal mate inevitably rejects them. Sorry babe, sucks to suck. Here we have the legs, and with the legs, this time I'll be making joints. Ultimately, I end up covering the joints, but for now you can watch as I put in my usual brand of care and consideration, however futile it may be. Perhaps in the future, I'll make another bug with joints, and this knowledge will come in handy. As of right now, the joints will be covered by the giant mesquite bug's iconic thunder thighs, a quality that only the males have. I actually regret not making them even bigger, but we could chalk that up to the fact this is technically a baby that we're working on. It's also important to mention that, once again, I am double baking this bug, hence the tinfoil halo. If I remember correctly, I baked the bug right after I created the joints, so I wouldn't have to worry about smooshing the whole thing when creating the legs. This is also the first bug I've made that has thighs, but also calves. Off screen, I sketched out the design of the bug, then got to work. This bug has a shockingly primary color-based color scheme that gives it a very summery feel to me. Hence why I chose it to be my May bug to kick off the start of summer. In researching this guy, I found out that it is quite literally a summer bug for real, with its months where it's most active being from May to August. So, if you live in Mexico or Southwest states of America, and you actually go outside in the summer, you might even see one of these. So, back to the paint job. I'm doing the same thing I usually do where I build up the colors, most of which I had to do for the red parts. Ironically, somehow, only one coat of yellow seemed to do the trick for this one. But I don't mind building up the other colors, of course. I wanted the red to be especially bright since that's the main identifier of the giant mesquite beetle. But really I just want the whole thing to pop. Okay, so here I'm going to speed run it, but essentially I'm creating a gradient by putting down the base color, then building up the gradient from there by adding layers and layers of blend so that the gradient has a believable depth to it. Save the highlight color for last after a few layers of blend to ensure it doesn't get drowned out too. It'll look chunky and kind of gross before it even comes close to looking good, but just take your time with it, as I do. See? A sunset gradient, almost as beautiful as its creator. I wish you could see my hands for this, for the gradients, because I always use my thumb as my palette. Oh, never mind. There you go. It probably looks like I'm being a little sloppy around the edges of this one, and that's because I totally am being sloppy around the edges for this one. But that's because I'm going to take my sweet time outlining it with black paint later, so you don't have to kill yourself to paint this part. It's not that serious right now. The antenna and the eyes I painted black, but I wanted to give the eyes some joie de vivre, so I put some metallic blue on top and gave it a little kiss before continuing on with the details. Oh, partial underside swag. The black I used for the body isn't even black, to be honest. It's a very dark, steely gray with blue sparkly undertones. I just felt like pure black might overwhelm the primary colors, and the book itself doesn't even seem to be a true black, so I took that as a blessing to take the creative liberty. And for my last trick, I outline everything. Well, make that second to last trick, since as you can see, we're now moved on to the glazing portion, which proves that we are done. So thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, you might as well subscribe. If you're gonna subscribe, you might as well comment a name. Sorry, I was going through puberty. You might as well comment a name as well for this guy. And I hope you guys have a wonderful kickoff to summer. I'll see you back in July. Thank you so much for getting me to 2,000 views again on the last one. I hope that we can go even farther than that. Thank you so much for watching, and bye!